I
Good
do.
morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Welcome to the portion we get to do Shemini. And I've been making up my own little song in my head to Shemini, Shemini. It's happening in
I
my
like
head
it.
today. It's going to be a great day. Expect
Yeah.
to probably giggle a few times. Probably expect to be challenged.
Yeah.
Yes, today we are going to talk about dietary laws. So, all of us that are holding on to our BLTs and you are holding on to your shrimp cocktails and shrimp scampi, hold on, sister. We might just ruin it for you. I have to say that this is one of my favorite. This is not my favorite until today. Now it's my favorite because we have giggled so much this morning. Brenda and I always meet a few minutes ahead of time. Usually we're texting 2 hours before back and forth about what's on our hearts.
Mhm.
I'm usually like, and then forget, and then I spring stuff on her like, hey, can you, dissect this word?
Yeah. Dissect this word. What does this word
Yeah,
mean? What is
I'm
this?
the fish. I'm the Fisher Price girl, and she's the thing. And oh, by the way, speaking of Fisher Price, thank you for everyone who showed up to the all of
Oh,
our cafe members who showed up to our monthly
oh
webinar last
yes.
night.
Oh, it was good.
Thank you for
Yes.
showing up. Thank you for your
Yes.
support. It was my first time speaking by myself, like not about Torah, just like, hey, you need to speak on a topic. Well, it was like how to incorporating the word, obviously, but
Yeah.
the first time speaking in
Yeah.
a very, very long time by myself. And it was
Mhm.
reactivating something that I know the Father, I did, something for
Wait.
years. And
Wait. New beginnings?
new beginnings, is that a segue? Shamini.
Shemini. If I could sing, I'd sing for you right now. I feel like
Oh,
singing.
Shemini, we have Leviticus 9:1 through 11:47 is where we are at in the Torah. 2 Samuel 6:1 through 7:17 is actually the Haftarah, and then we have Acts 5:1 through 11. I really feel like we should be in Acts 10. Can I just be honest? I feel like
Yeah.
that's where we really should be.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be in Acts 10. So I'm making
Do
an
it.
executive decision, and
Make it.
I really encourage you to go through and reread Acts 10 because we're talking about food that is clean and unclean, and it aligns with with what happened in Peter's vision. And I just tell you,
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about. I read uh, I read Robin's book for the first time, Peter's Vision, Beacon or Bacon. I put a link over here in the chat.
I like that. That's a catchy title. Beacon or
Beacon or
bacon?
Bacon. It's a Becky book, and I'm going to tell you, I think it's like 50 pages. It's so short, and I feel like this is a really great book to send to your. And I love because on the back she has like pictures.
Oh, right. So you can tell the difference between
Yeah. It's including Appendix A, the brief, and that's the animals. It's 55 pages, and it's
I
this
love
little,
that.
and it's like big. I mean, I could almost read
Everybody
it without glasses.
everybody needs to get it. Oh,
You
well,
just need. I can't even like hold
everybody
it. It
needs to
is
get it.
amazing. You just need to get it, and then you need to get two. Get one for you and one for that friend who's like, meh. God, I can eat whatever I want, and you
Mm,
can. Let's just
yes,
start there. You can. So
absolutely.
we're not going to start with the food. We have to go back to 9 because I'll get crazy. Shamini, living in the
Shamini.
eights. What does it mean? It means
Oh,
8 day. It
it
means
means
8. It
8.
means 8. That's what the
Isn't
English,
that
right? It means
cool?
8.
Yeah.
So this portion
Yeah.
means living in the eights. It's kind of fun that 7 days. The 7 days of consecration happened. Oh wait, 7 days of
Right.
creation. Why does this just keep
Right.
coming up? This creation
Right.
gospel. Is it
Right.
Halisa, you're annoying us now. Creation gospels everywhere. It's like
It's
we're
everywhere. We
ruined
can't think otherwise. You're
if
ruined
you've started the creation gospel, literally you're ruined because you will see
forever.
everything
Yeah.
in the creation. So 7 days it took to get things consecrated, and then bam, guess what happens?
Yep.
The fire comes down, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen all the time. There's only a few times in like the history of the word where it came down. I mean, it was like with Elijah, right? I think, and when Samuel was born, maybe was that happen? Was
And
it?
the
And then
burning bush,
the burning bush. We have
Shavuot,
Solomon, and then we have Shavuot.
every Shavuot, and then again Acts chapter 2, Shavuot. Good morning,
Yeah,
Sandy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So we
pretty
have
cool.
fire.
We have
So 8
fire.
days, and on day 8, bam! It's time to start. It's time to start. On the 8th day, all of a sudden, Aaron, Aaron, and his sons now all of a
Yeah.
sudden have to enter into service. So the life is as they know it is over.
They
The
are
life as
moving
they
into
knew it is
something
over.
new. That's right.
How
They're
many of
moving into something new.
you are moving into living in the eights? They are living in the eights. And then along with this, we are going to have, for those of you with children present, we are going to talk some pee talk. So we have circumcision. We're going to talk about circumcision, and that happens on the 8th day. And that happens on the 8th day. So for 7 days, a baby boy gets to do, I mean, let's go 7 days. And then on the 8th day, they're to be and a lot of things medically that goes along with, I'll say Google that. But on the 8th day, they're to be circumcised.
Mhm.
And I just want to say it's really interesting with that is that
Tell us
let's go
about
to
that a little bit.
do you want
You
to
got some
go back to
insights on that.
Shemini first? Do you want to go to
Sure.
Shemini? Do that
Sure.
first
We
since
could
we're
do
talking about 8,
Shemini.
and we'll
Okay.
scoot back. We're just
Okay.
talking today, so you might just like want to leave because we it's like we're all sitting around and like put your hand up if you're live and be like, "Oh my gosh, I have something I have to say too." Just let's talk today. Can we
Yeah,
do
let's
that?
talk today.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So
So
Shemini,
Shemini. So Shemini is eights. It's 8. Whenever we see an 8 in Hebrew, we're always you want your reticulating activator to go, ooh, something is happening big time. It's taking us out of what we're used to into something else. And let me explain that. So in Hebrew, the letters have meanings. Are you going to catch everybody, sis, while I'm
I
doing this?
am. While
Okay,
you
thank
talk,
you.
we'll just that's the deal. When I'm talking, you
Okay,
do it. When you talk, I'll do it. We'll do
okay,
that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So when we have Hebrew letters that make up the words, which they do, and we have pictures of those Hebrew letters, the neat thing is that the pictures don't replace the meaning of the Hebrew. Okay, it's not replacing the meaning, it's giving you an additional picture of where that's taking you. So we learn about our names. It doesn't mean that our names are different than what has been given to us. It means that here is another picture, something that's taking you into another realm of looking at what you have been given, right? So with the Hebrew word Shemini, let's take it apart. Let's look at those Hebrew letters and see what kind of a story we can get from that. Let's see where that's going to take us. So the first letter is the Sheen. It kind of looks like a W. It's like it's the letter that represents the manifest presence of God. It represents fire, the fire presence of God. Think about the burning bush, that flaming fire. And it was representative of the presence, the beautiful, purified presence of God. So think about that. And whenever I see the letter Sheen, it reminds me of the word esh, which is the word for fire. And so whenever I see the letter sheen, I always think of, like this. It's like the movement. It's the movement of that fire. It's beautiful. So that's the first letter. The second letter, Shemini, is a mem, and mem represents a wave or water. And there's all kinds of stories behind that, and we'll get into that. If you're taking my alphabet course, we're the second half of it starts with the letter mem, and so that's where it's cleansing, it's washing, it's purifying, but it's also movement. It's picking you up and taking you somewhere. The wave picks you up, it picks up whatever it has close to it, and it's moving it into something else. So in this letter Shemini, what is it moving us to? The manifest presence of God. There's a wave with this manifest presence of God. There's a wave that is picking you up and taking you where? Where is it taking you? To the nun sophit, last letter of the word. It's a sophit, which means it's ultimate. It's intensified. It's solidified. And it's the nun sophit is son, heir, the ultimate. So it's Messiah. So when you see a nun sophit, which is the nun at the end of a word in Hebrew, the last letter of the word, the line goes down below. It's like solidifying it. It's the ultimate heir. It's Messiah. So we have the manifest presence of God picking us up and taking us, propelling us into the next thing, Messiah. That's what's happening in Shemini. We are being picked up by the manifest presence of God and moved. And as we're being moved, we're being washed and we're being taken into Messiah. That's what's happening in Leviticus. So when you look at the book of Leviticus, that's what's happening in this portion. We're being picked up and taken to Messiah. What? But we're talking about food. We're talking about clean and unclean. We're talking about things we don't understand. We're talking about what's kosher or not kosher. We're talking about birds and reptiles and hooves and cuds and stomachs and yeah, no. What we're talking about is the Holy One, the ultimate one, the Holy One saying, "Come here, you and me, we're going to do this together. I'm going to take you into a new beginning. I'm going to show you what I say. I'm going to give you my heart. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I'm going to say we're going to co-create. We're going to go do this together." That's what's happening. So whenever you look at the book of Leviticus, I don't want you to be thinking it's just a bunch of rules and regulations. I don't understand it. Start saying, "Father, show me bigger, show me beyond. What are you doing here? Wait a minute. I remember now. I'm being shown Messiah." That's what's happening. All right. That's Shemini. You're muted. Are you talking to me? You talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Yeah. I'm sorry, I was muted. This is
You're
like
muted.
his
Say it again.
invitation to our banqueting table, right? He's saying, here's
Yes.
the invitation.
That's
Here's what's
what
on the
he's saying.
menu.
Yeah.
Here's what the dress code is. We're having a banquet, and I want you to come hang out with me and sit with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, for us to eat together, here's some of the things.
Yeah.
Chris Castro, I wrote, has a thing over here in the comments. I want to pull it up and I'll show you guys if I get to this today. But she
Okay.
has a whole thing 888 equals Yeshua equals Jesus, like his name. So he's all about living in eights. Isn't that cool?
Isn't it so neat? Because it's saying, I know that these words, the words that are coming in the book of Vayikra, I know that the words sometimes can be tough. So
Mhm.
the cool thing is that when we are studying Torah in community like this, we're linking arms with one another. If it looks tough, if it looks kind of hard, if it looks like it's beyond anything, remember that you're in a community and we are all linking arms together. We're all walking this out together. We're here for one another. And he's saying, I'm going to show you a beautiful way of communing with me. He's saying, I want to be with you. I'm going to show you how to be with me. I'm going to show you how to exchange everything that makes you feel inadequate for everything that I have. I am sealing you. I am telling you, you are adequate. I'm telling you that you are lovely. I'm telling you that you are beautiful. I'm telling you that I want you. You are my bride. I want you. I'm gathering you. This is what he's telling us. I know it looks like pigs, cows, hooves, circumcision. I'm sorry.
Are you like
Circumcision.
are you like in first grade? Like you're gonna say belly button and start laughing? Like
Totally in first grade today. But he's saying all of this, but look beyond it. Whenever we see Aaron, whenever we see Moses, Moshe, I like how Robin says it, Moshe,
Moshe.
Moshe.
Moshi. He calls
Whenever
him
we
Moshi.
Moshe,
Moshi.
yeah, whenever we see them, we're looking through them. We're looking into that lens, that glass, right? We're looking into it and we're seeing Messiah.
Yeah.
So all of this is think about Messiah. So, Bill had dinner. We had dinner with Bill on Sunday, and he was saying that he doesn't ever want to. He doesn't ever want to talk about Yeshua as if he's not in the room, because guess what? Wherever you are, there he is. He is in the room. So this conversation that we're having right here, we're talking about Yeshua, but remember that he's in the room with us.
Yeah.
He's
He's
right
laughing.
here.
He's laughing at belly
He's
button, probably.
seriously. And he thought, yeah, that was a good one, huh? I
That's a
thought of
good one.
that one.
I'm gonna share this from Chris. Thank you, Chris. I'm just gonna
Yes,
pop this
thank
up.
you.
So I mean it's all Greek to me, but here we go. Greek. Um Hebrew and Greek are alphanumeric letters, but this is kind of cool that, it's about new beginnings. He rose from the dead on the 8th day of the week.
Yeah.
It's supernatural. Yeshua brings us life beyond natural. Love that. 8 number of vestments worn by the priests, high priest. 8 sprinklings of the blood of Yom Kippur for atonement. 8 spices used in the tabernacle anointing oil. 8 instruments used by the Levites. 8 poles for carrying the holy vessels. And then Jesus is the 888. I love this. And Yeshua was the son of David. David was Jesse's 8th son. Isn't that cool?
Beautiful.
If you're watching
Eight's
screen, just take a picture with your little phone with this or whatever.
That's cute. Eight's the day that, if and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been known to be wrong before. I know, shocker, right? 8 is the day that Adam was put into the garden. Yeah, on the 8th day. Yeah. So speaking of making mistakes and being wrong,
I thought I was waiting. That was a good segue, friend.
segue. Yeah. So last time that we did the Torah portion, was it only a week ago? Because it really feels like a whole lot longer than a week ago. Yeah. I was sharing about Yeshua being in the tomb and that he picked up that the napkin was folded and that meant that Yeshua was saying it was finished. Okay, it was finished. He folded up his napkin. Dinner was done. It was finished. But in reality, that was a brain peek because in reality, and I think that we did cover this last week, but I just want to reiterate it because I love talking about my mistakes. It really means that he was folding his dinner napkin saying, I'll be back. I'm not complete. It's not finished yet. I'll be back. I've got some more things to do. So if you're going to excuse yourself from your dinner and you folded your napkin and put it down, it means to the waiter, don't take my food away yet. I'm not finished yet. I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the restroom or I'm going to go do something else. I'll be right back. And I had said it was finished, which I'm not going to justify it. It actually in the ancient Near East, it means I'll be back. Is that correct, Charlie?
That is correct.
Okay.
And you now have like thrown a big giant wrench into a big cog in the wheel. Everything has to come to a screeching halt because we've got messages. Everyone like, what? The 8th day, Adam, what? So we're just going to
I don't know. I'm just going to tell you.
She doesn't know what she's
haven't slept much in the last week.
Yeah. Brenda her mother has been in ICU. And so everyone just ignore that 8th day comment about Adam and just delete. Just delete. You too can
delete everything.
If you want to be the co-host next week, come on in. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously the job is available. I think I just fired myself and then I think you fired me too. So it's all good.
And you can rehire. We do this all week. Okay. Yeah. So I love this whole thing on the Shemini and then going in 8 days, the difference between the two words about the when they consecrated the tabernacle on the 8th day. And then when they were circumcision on the 8th day, the difference between those two words, we have olah, O-L-A-H, was the preparing, they were talking about the approaches or the sacrifices for consecrating that. When that happened, the word that they use is olah, O-L-A-H. Okay, and that's my English phonetic spelling of that. And then the word for circumcision in Hebrew is actually orla, O-R-L-A-H.
Yeah.
That's the Hebrew phonetic. That's English phonetic. So the difference in the Hebrew, if you're looking at the Hebrew, the difference in the only letter that's added in there is a resh. That's what makes the difference between the approaches to we have the approaches, the olah, korban olah. We have the initial approach. We have it that's prepared, right? Korban olah. And then on the 8th day, we have the circumcision when a son or a male boy, they perform the orla. So we know from lots of different times that the resh is the man, head bowed, right, Brenda?
It's the head.
It's the head, and it's usually from a bowed position, which is really interesting because it's the same way about approaching. It is the head portion in anatomical for a male, it is the head of their private parts. If there's little children, I'll be careful. It is the head of that. So what happens is the things have to be removed so that it can be fruitful and multiply. Or, well, it doesn't have to for that way. It has to be removed. It's saying, I need this to be circumcised, to be removed, so that you're sensitive, so that the things that are in the way are now out of the way. It's the same concept with that Korban Olah. When we talked about that, go back and watch us, my whole favorite portion, but we talk about the
Yes.
Korban Olah. What is it? My will. The Orlah, the
Yeah.
Olah is all
Hola.
about the will.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the will. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, we could probably
I
spend
do
some
remember
time on
that.
this, but we're not going to mail bash. But we just know a lot of times a man's will can be led by other things than his mind. And so we see that in Judah. We see him making decisions that, thank goodness, because, we were able, but we see lots of men. We see David. We see David sometimes not using his mind of his godly mind to make some choices with Bathsheba. We see God working all things for our good.
Yes.
But I just thought that was really interesting. Did anyone else think that's cool? I thought it's really
Yeah,
cool
that is
that
very cool.
here we have we're talking about the same Shemini. We're talking about two things. I'd be interesting to calculate what those letters all add up to, but both things happened on the eighth day. And the approach to reduce your will, saying, Father, not my will, but yours be
Yeah.
done. How
Yeah.
how difficult it is for a man to be like, not my will. My will is to not get rid of that, not to go through the pain,
Right.
especially when we see the Israelites going back into going into the land, and they all were standing there, and it was like, well, we all have to be circumcised before we can go in. And these are grown men. And so that's getting rid of your will. That was the Orlah had to
Yeah.
happen. We have to throw our will down before we can cross the waters, before we can go into the land. So I'm just loving it. I just want some bread already. So I'm watching her knead the bread over there. So that was cool to me. Anything else, like just on that rush? Do you want to, Brenda,
Well,
anything?
there's a lot, but I'm afraid of myself today.
She's literally like rum dum, like she's giggly.
No, I love that. I love that the whole thing with the circumcision is really removing the thing that separates. It's removing it. That's it. It's removing the thing that separates. And as we're being blessed with this eighth, this parsha, which is talking about the eights, and coming into this intimate, we're being called into an intimate communion with the Holy One, and a separation of that. And it's really neat that as we are starting this, that the Olah, the will offering, and I think I wrote it down. Let me just make sure that I did. And maybe I didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In English, you guys, it says burnt offering, or it'll say ascending offering, or whatever. That's the Olah. And it talks about that in this chapter, the sin offering, the burnt offering, which is the ascending, which is that approach. It's that approach. And when it's talking about those guys, remember that he's saying to us, I want you to come close to me. He's not saying you're separate from me. He's saying, come here, I want you to come close. So think of that image of Shemin, Shemin or Shemini, that it is the presence, the manifest presence of God lifting you up and taking you into Messiah. That's what's happening here. That's what he's doing with all of this. So just remember that. I love that Olah is the approaching. It's how we get close to him. Because in our Western mindset, and I'm only talking in Western mindset because I'm a Westerner, we think that it is showing us that we are incapable, truly incapable of worshiping God. So we have to like feed him. That's not what we're doing. It's not like the other gods where you had to feed them. That's not what's happening. Actually, Gail Heaton does such a great job over in the, I forget what we call it now, the premium. I don't know what do we call it. Oops, sorry.
She's
um,
fired again.
I'm
She's so
fired again.
fired.
Uh, Gail Heaton's talking about it in the Parsha points that she does every week for us in the Rooted Cafe in the section where you can get into all of that. I don't know what section that is, but there's a section that you can get into all of that. Anyway, and she's saying that this is really about the Holy One inviting us to his dinner, not us coming to feed him, but him inviting us to come and dine with him. And that's what's really happening here. I hope that makes sense. I just think it's beautiful.
It does make
You
sense.
guys, he
It's
loves us
beautiful.
so much. He wants relationship with us so much. You realize that I think the reason that I was saying about the mistake that I made last week was because um, we have to come to the point where we love each other even when we make mistakes. And I know that you guys love me even when I'm making silly mistakes, like saying that Adam was put into the garden, not out of the garden. Doesn't matter. You guys get it. It's a typo, backspace. Um, but we have to love each other, and this is what community does. Community goes, okay, well, that I may not agree with that, or maybe that's not what she meant to say, or maybe that's what she meant to say, but I don't agree with it, or I'm thinking something different. But it's not shooting us with an arrow or kicking us off the team. It's really just saying, wow, let me cover her, or let me find out what she meant by that. Or, I don't get offended if somebody says, like Sombra said, hey, it's the day that Adam was put out of the garden. I'm like, thank God that somebody else has a brain that's functioning right now, because that is important.
Because
And that's
together
what
we
we
all
get to
make one good
do.
one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But we
Right.
really do get to cover for one another and love one another, and it's so important that we walk that way, not being hateful of each other when we make mistakes or when we do something that, we don't do that with our babies. We love our
No.
babies no matter what they do. They cry, we still love them. Annoyed, yeah, we can get annoyed, but we love them. And that's how we are in community. So I think that's probably why the Holy One brought that to my attention today. So I could just share with you, thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me when I'm tired. And thank you for loving me when I say things that, maybe I didn't mean, or that I need to be corrected in, because I'm good with that. I'm not perfect.
Yay.
Yay. And you don't have to be perfect either. Guess what? Yeah. It's pretty cool.
No, I love that. That's so good. I
Yeah.
had a just so interesting, like, let's just go back to some fun
Sure.
talk. When we were created in the garden on the fourth day, right? What day were we created?
D
Sixth
I
day.
don't even know
On the
that.
sixth day when we were created, I'm totally kidding you guys.
I know you
On
are.
the sixth day when we were created, I
It's
was just like seeing who's on the sixth day when we were created like this. We were in his
yeah,
image.
yeah,
We were like him. And then he said, he didn't say, oops, I made a mistake. He said, this is lo tov, which does not mean it's bad. This is not
right,
good. This isn't finished yet. This can't function. This isn't ready yet to function in its function yet, so it can be fruitful and
right,
multiply.
right.
It's not finished yet. So what he did is he separated it. He
Mhm.
pulled us out. So now there was two of us,
Right,
right? So that's why when they say when the two shall be joined together, that's when we're most like him. We're most like him when we're together like this, right? That's when we're most like him. So in intimate moments, you don't want anything. I'm talking in code, ladies. You don't want anything that's keeping from you being joined together, that
right,
is desensitizing, that is in the way that could be unclean, that could be a place that would hold bacteria, that could bring infection. There's things that could happen if not cared for properly, that circumcision allows a cleaner connection. Did I say that well?
that was really good. Very
That
appropriately
was my
said.
nurse educator trying to be in there. Okay, so when you're connected in intimate moments, that's when we're most like him.
Yeah,
So that's another reason why he's saying, I don't want anything set in the middle. I don't want nothing separating you from feeling everything that I have for you, you getting the download. However, I want to just caution us. We often talk about worship because this was a huge act of worship. And I think that in the Western culture or in Christian churches, I'll speak for myself, my own life experience, is we go into these worship services very needy. And I don't know how I'm gonna. I mean, I was thinking like when I went to like an extraordinary worship services over with that Passover conference I went to. I mean, Paul Wilbur and with Melody and Brendan. It was like, oh my gosh, these amazing like worshipers. And it's very easy when you go into a place where it's the worship is like off the chains, right? It's like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
so that all of a sudden it's about what I feel. I want to go where there's really great worship because it makes me feel good. It makes
Mm.
me feel good and I love it. And I get all the goosebumps and I get all excited about it. Like I want to go where I feel something. Do
Yeah.
you follow me?
Yeah.
As well, very self-focused going into that because I want to enjoy the worship. I have said that I can't tell them. I enjoyed the worship. It was oh, I felt so much stuff. Oh, I enjoy. But worship was supposed to be about what we're supposed to bring to him. The worship time is actually shouldn't matter if there's one guy on a little guitar or one lady just beat a beat on a tambourine or whatever's happening. It's not about our entertainment.
Right.
That might be strange fire. It's not about being entertained like, oh, I feel good, oh, that was good for me. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's not that that can't happen. Of course he loves that if it makes him feel good, he loves it makes us feel good, but it can't be our motive, right?
Right.
It can't be our motive that when we go in the worship, it's not entertainment, and it's not so that we feel something. It's so that are able to come in and we are able to lay down our will, right?
Mhm.
All those korban. It's an opening for us to walk in, and because we don't have a altar with a bunch of cows being and goats and everything being slaughtered all over the place, we come to this altar boldly. We come in and we just we cast everything down before him,
Yeah.
and we are able to worship him. And when you're able to do that and just say, that's what I love going into. Can I just say one of the things I love about most messianic congregations or whatever you call your congregation, or I love going to the way, churches of the way. I love going in there because the songs are not self-focused.
Yes. Yes.
The
That's
songs
really
are
good.
very focused on him. Has anybody
Yeah.
else noticed that? I need like
Yeah.
Facebook. I'm looking all over. I'm looking in all the places right now. Have you noticed that the songs are very God focused, like Yahweh, like
Yeah.
yes, this is who you are,
Yeah.
not what you give to me. And I've grown up in the church where if I think about most of the songs that I sang were really all about me. Change my heart, oh God. Of course, that's a psalm. But so then you start with that, like, okay, well, that's good. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true, make me like you. That's great. I'm submitting myself. But then it goes on to be like what you can do for me, what you can give me, what we can do. It's all this big, it's entertainment. It really is.
Yeah.
But if you've noticed that if you go into a lot of the congregations, if you've gone into like a messianic congregation, that the worship is all about who he is and how
Yeah.
amazing he is and what he's doing.
Good.
And what happens is then for me, it my mind goes to a different place. I'm not as self-focused about what's this happening to me, but it's like who you are because
Mhm.
of who you are, Father. Oh, you are holy, holy, holy. And then I personally feel like I'm brought into his presence more. Do you feel the same, Brenda? Do you have a
Yes. No, I really I remember when we were in our former lives and with the worship teams, and I started feeling, it was when, you guys all know, there was that time when you were starting to get pulled away that you didn't even know you were getting pulled away, and that pulling away was a dissatisfaction with the way that things were. And I remember specifically that I was dissatisfied with the way that the worship was going, because it was so me focused. It was, I love you, Lord, bless me, rain upon me. It was always about me in the worship. And I remember that really like being like a grain of sand, that was rubbing on my skin everywhere I went, every time that I went to worship services, and it started annoying me. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Yeah, and that's what it was. But I thank God for those times of discomfort. I thank God for those times that he was, because he was bringing us out to bring us into this,
Yes.
right?
So
To bring
perfect
us
segue.
into. Mhm.
Perfect segue. I wish Simi was here right now. She's actually
Yeah.
in a training and she apologized. There's a story that she told me. We were at her house for dinner and she told me a story about her crying out to the father because a woman that she knew had lost, she had babies and that were like, she had triplets.
Mm.
And for some of you who have lost children, or I hope that this blesses you, but this story, but and I will ask her another time to share it personally, but I'm going to give you the general view because I really believe that it has a lot to do with what's happening with Aaron's sons, okay?
Yeah.
In this thing we find out that Aaron's son bring a fire that's called, it's a strange fire. So we there's a lot, I mean, I read all kinds of
Yeah.
assumptions of what it could be or what
Yeah.
it meant, but
Yeah.
basically what it wasn't what it wasn't the one that he told them to do. They were trying to do it a different way. And some of us can caution that there's some things we do in our culture that we're trying to celebrate or do something a different way that might be strange fire. And I don't think that what I think we need to do is we just take it to the throne and say, Father,
Mhm.
these are
Yeah.
some things in my life. Can you convict me or show me the things in my life that are strange fire? Can you show
Yeah.
me the things in my life that aren't the way you said to do it, out of ignorance or out of deliberately I'm doing something, or
Mhm.
could you just reveal that to me? And I promise you, sister, he will. So
Yeah, he
Simi was
will.
telling me this story about this woman that she knew. She tried and tried and tried to have babies, and then she had I think they went through in vitro fertilization or something. Anyway, she had 3 babies. They were triplets. And I'm going to mess this story up, but the bottom line is I believe 2 of them died, 1 of them lived. And she was just so grieving and so upset, like, Father, why did you bless her with this and then take it away? Like, and I don't know if it was in vitro, I think it was actually natural, but why did you bless her with this and then now you took it away? This is like, why would you do that to someone? And this is Simi having this conversation with her dad. Why would you do this? And the what he dropped in her heart was that those children, now this is not theology, friends, but that those children had been given an assignment, that in heaven we're given an assignment, that we're coming, he knew us before, so they were being sent down to be, this sounds like an alien movie, I'm going to tell you this right now, but take this or leave it. You may spit this one out too to this morning. But the babies, these souls, they were in heaven and they were given basically this assignment, that this is what was going to happen, and that they knew basically what he said to her, what she felt he said to her. They knew exactly what they were coming down for, and they accepted the assignment. They knew that they were not going to get to be held by their mommy. They knew that they were not going to get to be grown up and do all these things, but there was going to be a reason for it, and they knew, they were given that information there. They were all knowing there, and then they knew it, and then they accepted the assignment. And so when I was reading this and I'll leave that, let her tell the story better, but I see things differently since she told me that story. So I prayed about it. I'm like, Father, I need you to confirm that in my heart. Is this truth? Is that like an alien weird story? Is that like a X-Files movie or something? But there was this truth. And Tiffany, I'm seeing your face. Does that ring true to you? Does that a little rings true to you? Like, you're like, hey, we're given these babies are given an assignment. So I'm thinking about Aaron's sons. They had to have did they have to accept that assignment when they were knowing they were going to come down? And why? Because it was going to all work for all of our good, that they were going to come down. And look at what that shows us. Look at what that brought to our now we talk about these sons to say what we don't want to do. And they were brought to us to be a correction rod for us because of their lives and the way that they did. And when all this happened and all this is going on, there's a huge thing that we don't talk about. Then Aaron kept silence.
Yeah.
I'm hearing the song and the
Yeah.
sound of silence.
Yeah.
But Aaron kept silent. And I'm just praying about that. That's one of the things I highlighted for myself for tonight and for tomorrow. I'm just really want to meditate on is, gosh, he kept silent. It
Mhm.
was it awe? Why? I mean, I ask all the questions why, but I want to believe that these 2 sons, they had been they went with Aaron up to the mountain and they had dinner with God. Hello,
Yeah.
they were on the mountain and ate with him.
Yeah.
They knew better. They knew what to do, what not to do. I mean, there was speculations. Were they just rebellious? Were they drunk? Were they, there's all kinds of speculations. But the bottom line is that they were an example of this is what you're not going to do. And you know how sometimes they'll say we have to make an example out of you so that everybody else sees this is what you're not going to do. So I am going to be of the belief that they accepted the assignment that we have to come down. This is what's going to happen. Is everyone else is on here saying you're crazy?
Yeah. No. Can I just? I want to add to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the ancient Near East, well, I'm sorry. I'm reading a commentary. If you guys want to look at one of the commentaries that I just got, I love this book. That's what it is. If you want to look at that. Anyway, it says under Aaron's silence, it says Aaron's silence is in contrast to the loud wailing that usually accompanied mourning. Rather than a stunned silence, it represents a determination to follow the procedure that officiating priests should not be in mourning. Aaron could not be in mourning and continue doing because the consecration had begun for the Mishkan. The priests were being brought in and being set into place to begin their service, their avodah, their service. And there would have been an interruption in that if Aaron would have began mourning and wailing. He needed to continue to do what he was doing. And his silence was, this is just one thought, that his silence was him partnering with the Holy One and saying, this is the more important thing that I need to do. And I'll do this and there will be time. It wasn't that he wasn't mourning, but that he took the stand to continue what was being what he needed to bring to the people to continue this. He took that stand. And because the family had to be the ones that took the bodies out, it was always had to be family members. That's why the family was brought in to bring out the bodies. And so that was one part of it. And it says it was an important role for a family to care for the dead. And in this situation, the brothers of the dead were not available in that day. Because they were still involved in officiating at this sacrifice. So the cousins were instructed to perform the duties. So the family extended, and the cousins came in and took care of that so that Aaron and his other two sons could continue doing what they had been assigned to do. And I love that what you were saying with that, Charlie, that sometimes people are asked to do assignments that don't make sense to the outside world. It just doesn't make sense. And yet it is still a beautiful, amazing thing to be accomplished. And God will bless them for that in huge, amazing ways. Tiffany was raising her hand here.
I just typed it to Charlie, just was like maybe Aaron was given this supernatural moment of peace and like, are we there? Have we gone? We're not there yet, huh? This is from a different year. The piece of Phineas remember the first time we did this and the word peace is different. It's like the perfect peace, and every other time peace is used, it's not in its perfect form. And when God says, I give you my peace, I give to you, to Phineas, it's the perfect shalom peace. We'll get there in Numbers. It's Numbers 26 or 25. Anyway, maybe Aaron is given this perfect peace that surpasses understanding in this moment as like there'll be no mourning in heaven, right? So maybe this is First Tiffany, in case anyone's wondering. Is
wait, let me look that up in my Bible. First Tiffany, what?
Yeah. Right. Just maybe he's given that supernatural grace that says, I'm going to sustain you in this moment that you just witnessed horrific tragedy. I am greater than that. My peace is greater than that. My grace is sufficient for that. Mm-hmm. And I will give you such comfort and such peace in this moment that you will be able to continue to do what I have asked you to do, because there will be time for this.
Yeah. And he was grieving, but he
Right.
wasn't being allowed to outwardly go into that place of grief where he was separated to grieve. He wasn't
Right.
being allowed to do that. And the grief was still there. I love that perfect peace, that shalom, shalom, that double portion of peace. Yeah, I mean, he had to have. It was totally supernatural that he could continue that, and his other sons too. That was huge. And it's really funny. I never knew this before, but today I had done some research, and I saw that there are commentaries by other rabbis that say that disagree with the fact that it was a punishment that they died. They disagree with that. They think that it was not a punishment. And that'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't know the information. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying I read that today. And I thought, I love that. I love that everybody disagrees. I love that there's like all kinds of different ways of looking at these things. And unless the Holy One specifically tells us specifically what it is, you know,
We have to trust that it was for
we
a
have to
plan.
trust him.
We have
But
to
we have to
trust it was for
trust
a
God.
purpose.
Yes,
And
we have to
and
trust God.
as mothers, the mothers on here, we can
Yes.
all say, "Oh, even if I mean anyone with your family, you watch that happen, you realize now, okay, so let's take this to another place. How many of you are, all of you are called to a purpose, and
Mhm.
sometimes there's things that happen that you're not allowed to participate in.
Yeah.
God says, don't touch it. And your heart is like, but I need to go help. I need to go to help do this. And he's saying, back away. Don't go hold on to her right
Right.
now. She's a hot mess falling apart and you
Mhm.
want to go make things better. And he's saying, don't touch it. I don't
Mhm.
want you to touch this because why? Because I have a plan. And
Yeah.
this is going to interfere with my plan. And it's not, you need to how many of you have it? I mean, gosh, I want to hear examples all over the place. I'm sure you've all had times when he says, stop it, don't touch it. But your flesh wanted to grieve something with someone. You wanted to console someone. You wanted to go in and make something okay. And he says, be silent, wings down, sister.
Yeah.
No heavy lifting, back away.
Yeah. Exactly. That happens a
And we don't know
lot.
why. He's just
Yeah.
because I said so.
Mhm.
And
Right.
he
Well,
he needed to
aren't we?
not, yeah.
I'm sorry. Aren't we learning in the book of Leviticus that we learn to trust God even when we don't get it? I mean, really, come on. We learn to trust him even when we don't get it. He's got a reason for it. So we're learning how to say, yes, I will. And then we'll get the understanding after. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. That's what, the whole thing with the food. We can debate our way all through it. We can say, well, we have refrigeration now. They didn't have refrigeration then. We can go through and do all the things. We can do all the things. Bottom line is, he said, no, this is food. This is not food. That's what he said. So
Oh, she's
let's
going to
go
go
with
there.
it.
Let's
Let's just
go
go
in
with
there.
it.
Let's dive in. Chapter
Yeah.
11. Chapter 11. Ready, everyone? Leviticus chapter 11. I'm just going to first say to you, this is red letter God,
This is, yeah.
not
So,
red letter. We have like
yeah.
if anyone has I don't have a red letter edition, but if you have a red letter,
Mhm.
I have this, but I wrote on mine, red letter God. And I underlined the whole thing because it's like my Adonai, he is speaking to me. Adonai spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, speak to Bnei Israel, saying, these are living things which you may eat among all the animals and that are on the earth. And then he goes through all the things.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, you should not eat those. And then he goes through all of that.
Hmm.
From the waters, from the sky, from the things. He loved us so much. He said, here's the grocery store. Let's go to the grocery. Here's the things. Have you gone to a menu before and you've never been there before? My first thing at any restaurant I go, have you gone to a menu before? Have you gone to a restaurant? The first thing I ask when my server comes to the table is, what's your favorite? Always.
Yeah.
I always ask them that. What's your favorite? Now, if they're a really good trained server, they're going to probably give you the
Are you the
expensive
best,
one.
the most
Yeah,
expensive
the
one?
most expensive thing. But most of the
Tips
time,
or
I'm going to be
percentages?
honest with you, that is rare. That is rare, rare, rare that ever happens. It's usually someone's like, well, I don't know. I don't eat here. I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat any of this food. Or, oh, I don't know. I don't like this. But they'll tell you, and they're like, well, all the people seem to really like this. And this is most popular. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about? The other thing is, have you ever been to a restaurant, you get the menu and you've never eaten there before, and you're like, I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah.
If you're like at a Vietnamese restaurant, or if you go to like somewhere and you're like, I don't know what's in this. I don't even know what that name means.
Yeah.
What do I order? If you've traveled abroad, you're like opening menus and they're in other languages and you don't know what's on the menu. Well, that's kind of what's happening. He's saying, I've created all these things. Now you're going to go into this land, and let me just tell you, this is who you are. And I believe, because we have an example with Noah, we have an example of what they could eat, what they could, I mean, what was clean, what was not clean, what came onto the ark. I believe that this was common, and then they had lost it in Egypt. So he's now reiterating, which this is the whole book. He's reiterating,
Yeah.
this is who you are.
Yeah.
Let me interpret the menu for you.
Yeah.
This is
Let me show you how to shop.
Let me show you how to shop. This is one of the hardest things for people to get. Now,
Why? Can I ask that?
Yeah. Let me first say,
we don't need to answer that. I'm just saying, can I ask?
Why is this so hard?
Why is this hard?
Why are you fighting this?
Why?
And
if he said he loves you, God said he loves you, right? I have loved you with an everlasting love, right? Those are red letter. God said it.
And there's a lot
There's
of
a few other things that he said.
There's a couple things.
This is one of them.
But there's and I don't want to be, I want to be snarky because that's, but I'm going to be careful. I want to say this. This is not a salvation issue.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
This is not a salvation issue.
No.
This is not, if you eat this, then you're going to go burn in hell. This is not that. And I know you all hear us say this every week almost, but I feel like we still have to say it because we have new people who jump in.
Yes.
And there's a lot of you that might still be in Sunday churches, and I'm only using that as you are, or you're brand new into this, or maybe you're just
just looking. Yeah.
You're just curious and you're just, window shopping. I want to be clear that we're not talking about salvation here at all. We're just talking about what's best.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best thing? So like if you went to Nutrition 101 and probably not now because they just teach the old fashioned pyramid. But if you went to like a holistic doctor, they'd sit you down and say, these things are the things, you have an inflammatory disease. Then you should not, that's happened to me. These are the foods you should not eat because they cause your body to react with an inflammatory reaction. These are the things, when you eat these things, they cause you to have pain. When I eat sugar, processed sugar, my body gets mad at me, and I'm tired, I'm inflamed, I'm swollen, my joints hurt. I'm like, so I have to plan that really well. If I'm going to do it, I got to know that I'm not going to feel good the next day. How many of you, if you're drinkers, you knew that if there's the times you might have had a little too much, and you knew if you're going to go have an important meeting the next morning, you better not be going out to or test in the morning. You go to sleep. Y'all get me? Y'all get me?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what our dad is saying. Hey, this is we can go back to Anne Hathaway, right? This is the food that you eat. Tiffany, you have to help me the name of the country again. You are now the princess, the new princess. If you guys watch the movie, you are now the princess, and these are the foods that we eat. These are the foods we don't eat because this is going to make you sick. This could hurt you. Now, if that's the principle alone, then we'll say we have refrigeration now.
Yeah.
It won't make us sick. I will tell you, I know people who have died eating clams personally. Physicians at a physician's conference not very long ago had bad clams because of blue tide. Red tide? Blue tide. What is it? Red tide.
I have no idea.
Whatever the tide it was. They had a bad tide. There was these microscopic things that the clams actually eat to help clean that out, and then they ate the clams. And so what happens is those were all bad, but nobody knew it till the people died from it. So there's things that we don't get. So I believe this is a because I said so, but I have a new revelation today. And it's actually, there have been times that I actually every once in a while I'll be like, I just really, really love clam chowder. I just want some clam chowder. I'm going to tell you, I'm good with no bacon. I'm good with all but I really love clam chowder. And I was like, I just really want a clam chowder. So there has probably in the last couple of years, there's probably been a couple of times I'm just going to have a clam chowder. I felt like I was sneaking and hope nobody saw me and had a clam chowder. So there you are. I'm exposed. My husband, we went to somewhere and my husband, and they had like a charcuterie board out, and he grabbed a piece of salami, and I wanted to be like, yeah, like he's thinking wherever we go, it's always safe because all of our friends, if there's salami out or if it's turkey, so we always know it's okay to eat it. Well, and I didn't want to make a big deal, but he's like eating the salami. I did not think he was gonna go to hell because he ate salami.
Mm-mm.
No, but what I have read today, and I posted it. I've posted it on both sides. I read Robin's book, and I've had it for a little while, but I hadn't read it. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Peter's Vision,
Peter's Vision. That's
the
good.
Beacon or Bacon. So I started reading this book, and the reason is because I know one of the biggest things that we hear all the time, our friends will be like, and I am not a proponent of being in an argument with someone. I recommend you just buy them this book. I think it's $5 or something, and just give it to them. Be like, you know what? I can't explain it any better. So I know what you believe because I used to believe all those things. I fought those arguments. I know your arguments. There's nothing new you can tell me because you're saying everything I've already known. But would you consider, if this is so important to you, then it's 55 pages. Could you just read this? And then we can have a conversation because I already know your half, but you don't know mine. And I don't feel like I'm going to do it justice. So if you would just do this, it sums it all up for me. That's how I feel. It's important enough to me that I'm not going to get an argument. And besides, I already know what their argument is. And the biggest argument is Peter's vision, right? We don't have to read through today all the red letter, all the things that he said, what we can and can't eat. But can we talk about why? Like, why did he even do this? Isn't that the thing? Why don't we want to, why are we struggling giving those things up? Like Brenda said, is that a rebellious issue? Is that our will we're not willing to throw down? What is the issue? And I don't know what your issue is. I don't know if it is an issue. We have someone here and I want to expose her. We have someone, she's not here today. She probably would do it herself. And she was like, I'm not giving up my bacon. I'm a Southern girl and I am not giving up my bacon. And I said, oh, I love you so much. I can't wait for the day when you call me and you're like, oh, I'm giving up the bacon. I can't wait for that day. I love you so much. It's going to be so much fun. Literally that day came and I was cracking up because it was like, I don't have to tell someone what they can eat and not eat. That's not my job.
It's not your job,
But I
not my
can tell
job.
you the
Mm-mm.
revelation I had on my own today.
Yeah.
Reading Robin's book. I'm just going to tell you, I can't say enough. I love her. It's a cheap little book. I finally read it. I have it. Why did he do it? Brenda was, and we saw with Gail, he's asking us to come to his table and eat. That's
Right.
part of the, so what
Right.
he's saying, and hello, am I new? I think I'm new.
We're all new.
Anything that we're allowed to eat are the things we were allowed to put on the altar.
Right.
Am I
So,
new? Like, have I,
yeah.
has anyone else never just realized that before?
So if he's saying what he considers to be food and what he's asking of us to do at the altar in the approaches that we have with him are to bring him the things that we have, that we have the food, the mincha, the meat offering. It was called the meat offering. It was grain, the lambs, the bulls, the calves, the birds, all of the first fruits, all of those things. Those are all things that he said were food, that he said were food. That's what God said they were. Those are the things that Yeshua would have eaten, right? So would you invite somebody to dinner and serve them things that are not food? Would you serve them a tire? Would you serve them a door handle? I mean, you wouldn't. And Yeshua ate these things. So when he's talking about the shalem offering, the peace offering, which is that fellowship offering, and he's actually inviting us into dinner. He's inviting us to be with him. And we know that in food, in eating, especially with salt, with bread, those are covenantal things that you do. Those are commitments to one another. You don't eat with somebody that you're not going to protect. When you break bread with somebody, you're saying, your people are my people. Your enemies are now my enemies. I'm bringing you under the cloak of my home. This is where you now are. You're having dinner with me. Now I will protect you with my life. That's what that means. When you're bringing somebody into your home and you're inviting them to dinner, that's what that means, guys. We don't do that here, but that's what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
It was a covenant. It was, no, I will, even if we don't agree, you will be safe with me. I will protect you, even if we don't agree. Even if we're actually enemies tomorrow, This is, this is where I will protect you. And that's why the enemies uh, did that whole dinner thing with David, because once David had dinner with them, he couldn't just slaughter him. He had to protect him, because that's a covenant of the meal covenant. So this is what's happening here. It's so much more. And I think it was Chris that said over in the comments, it's layer upon layer. Yes, the Word of God is layer upon layer. Like we are looking at it today. If we just look at it plain text, just plain text, we're looking at it. It's about animals, what's clean, what's unclean. But let's look beyond all of that. Let's hear the heart of God. What is He saying to us? What is another layer that's happening here? He's saying, I love you. I'm going to care for you. I'm going to take care of you. This is what I think. These are my words. This is what I think. This is my idea. You want to know what the will of God is? Here's a big, huge, this is the will of God, because this is what He says. And
Yeah.
when we're here in this whole learning in the book of Vayikra, this whole learning of the approaches to Him, the first one, I almost said Orla, the Olah offering, that ascending approach to Him, that is us giving up our will. This is walking it out. It's not just theoretical. It's walking it out. This is how you walk it out. That's why in B'nai Israel, the children they are taught how to read from the book of Leviticus as the first book that they read. They start in the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. That's where they start learning, because these are the red letter words of God.
Yes. And it tells them who they are.
It tells them who they are. It tells them how they are able to please God in the sense of doing what He would do. It's
Right.
it's getting to know Messiah, guys. Can I say that? You get that? It's getting to know Messiah.
Yeah.
Who is He? This is the revelation of who He is. It's beautiful, and it's layer upon layer, and there's no condemnation, guys. That's what Charlie was saying. This isn't a salvation issue. This is an abundant life issue. If you want to walk in abundant
Yes.
life, then you're going to say, what is your will, Father? Then show me how to walk out your will. This is one of those things,
And
like
this is
many of the
personal
things.
for
Yes,
me
it is.
today.
It's
Yes.
totally
And today,
personal. Totally
today,
personal.
today it was so much more personal. Today it hit me at a whole different level. It was not that I can't do something. It wasn't that I can't eat that or I can't, because sometimes I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I might feel that way. Maybe if it's about clam chowder, um, um, I can't have, I can't
We're
do that.
praying for you, sister.
I know. I mean, and think about it. There's some of you, like even your children, that are like, oh my gosh, they just love pepperoni pizzas. Now at our house, we do turkey pepperoni. You have to even be careful when you're looking at stuff, because they'll do pork casings. So when you're like, oh, it's a
Yeah.
chicken sausage, I'm so excited, and then you read the ingredients and it's a pork casing. So you have to like pull
Sneaky.
off the pork. I mean, it's a drama.
Sneaky.
They're just sketchy. They're sketchy like that. Put in all that pig
It's a
in us. Isn't it
conspiracy.
interesting that with even like with Hanukkah, one of the things about Hanukkah is all about is all about this. They're defiling the tabernacle, right? They came in and defiled the tabernacle with pigs and with pork and doing. Okay, I won't go there. But for me, it was personal. It was personal because I got to understand. I'm a why girl. I want to know why. And when I felt like I had this download that this was me sitting to have dinner with Him, I have a covenant every day. Everything I eat, I'm sitting to have a covenant. As often as I do it, I'm having this covenant with Him in this, and I'm praying. Thank you, Father, for the provision of this food. Thank you, Father. And I'm in. He's there. He's there, and I'm able to sup with Him and Him with me. Right. I'm able
Right.
to do that. He's at the door knocking. He's going to come in, and He's going to now. It was just super personal to me all of a sudden. It was like,
Yes.
oh, wow, you're saying that in order for you to be able to have dinner with me and to hang
Mm-hmm.
out with me, like at that time, this is the kind of foods we eat. This is an approach issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got that was because these are the foods that were actually were put on the altar. Nothing that can't go on the altar to Him would be something we would eat either. If it's not good, if He can't eat it, He doesn't want us to eat it. If He doesn't want it as an offering to Him, He doesn't want us to have it either, because we're His children. Okay. So in clean versus unclean, what happened is over time, and you'll read this if you get Robin's book, but over time, fences. We've talked about this before. Rabbis, sages, or they put fences around Torah because they're
Right.
like, we've said this before, like, oh, you're not supposed to be drunk on wine. So if you're not going to get drunk on wine, then let's make sure that we don't have alcohol in the house or don't go around alcohol so you're not tempted. Oh, if that's the case, then actually let's not go even around grapes, because if you're around grapes, then that might make you think of alcohol. I mean, that's how the fences work, right? They go like, so that's kind of what happened with the clean and unclean. So they would say it was common. So when you hear Peter, when he's talking about things, actually the word is transcribed. It's actually he was saying, ooh, this is common. In Acts 10, when he's in his vision, when all this happens, what happened was the fence that had been built, this is not in Torah, was that if you mixed the animals, if they were even around each other. So if you went to a farm and you walked up to this thing and they said, oh, grab something to eat, and there was a pig and there was some chickens and there was a cow and there was a goat, you would go in and pick something other than the pig. That's what would happen. Well, all of a sudden they decided, so you don't accidentally get the pig, so that doesn't accidentally happen, or you don't accidentally eat the horse, then if they're in one corral, then now they're all common. They're all not clean. And that's what had happened. And that's what Peter had been taught. That was the traditions, that was the fences that had been put around. So when Peter's given this vision, we remember, if you keep reading the whole thing, he's also giving Cornelius a vision as well, right? And what's going to happen is our Father loves Cornelius so much that he doesn't want it, and he knows that Peter's the man for the job. So he's got to get rid of some stuff in Peter that's tradition, some things in Peter that are keeping him from being able to minister to Cornelius. And why? Because one of the fences was, when people mingle together, if you're non-believer, believer, Gentile, Goyim, Jew, you don't mix the people, then you don't want to, because if I'm around you, I might pick up your customs. I might start serving your gods, because it says that we're not supposed to be, okay, I might accidentally marry your sister. Oh my gosh. So now I'm not even going to be around you. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's not in her book. That's me. So here's what's happening. And so to give a vision, if you put a bunch of people in a vision, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a Jew and a Gentile in a vision, unless they had like the curls and it was men. But if it was all the peoples, it'd be very difficult to maybe understand that. But a very simple way for him to show Peter about that was actually things that he had made clean and unclean, the things that he had spoken in a Leviticus that were clean and unclean. If he said it was clean, it was clean. If he said it wasn't clean, it wasn't clean. And we're not talking about ceremonial. We're just saying, if this is something, it doesn't mean your hands weren't washed. There's a whole other verses that are all about, basically, they were about hand washing. They had nothing to do with the food. It was about how they had been prepared, or the washing of the hands.
Right.
But he's saying, if I told you these animals were clean, it doesn't matter if they touch each other. It doesn't matter. Go get something to eat, like the barnyard. Go in there and grab something to eat. It's okay if they are playing in the same pen. It doesn't mean you're allowed to eat those still. And that's what he was saying with that. The other thing is, the sheet was actually a tallit. And you don't put a tallit over animals. They were representing people, because the tallit was being spread over the people. And he was saying that they're going to grab onto I'm covering all the people, and that I'm going to graft them all in. And he was explaining, and he knew that. And if you keep on going, then all of a sudden now he meets Cornelius. And now he's allowed now to go into Cornelius's house without that. And even he continues to explain that. I think I wrote something down on here I wanted to read. But he even explains that later. Peter continues to say that it was all about Cornelius, that this is what's happening with him. I wrote a note to myself, page 36.
It's Acts chapter 10, if anybody is looking for the reference that she's talking about.
Yeah. And what he says is, Adonai said, you shall not call what I have cleansed common. Meaning that it has mingled with other things, not that it was unclean, but common is a different word. In the Greek word is different for clean and unclean. They're saying that once they've mingled, now they're common. So you shall not anything that I have cleansed common. Adonai didn't. He's not talking about the clean. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
He's not saying, now this rooster is common because it was walking next to the pig. So now it's common. You can't eat it. He says, don't do that. Adonai didn't mention the word unclean. Peter used an additional word beyond that, which God uses to describe what was cleansed, as this was the customary vernacular of his audience. Peter was using the words common and unclean interchangeably sometimes, like his audience also often did. So good. I'm just going to tell you, I was blown away just reading all about the sheet and how the sheet was the talit. I thought it was beautiful. Yeah. Brenda, you were talking something you shared with me about the ancient Near East perspective on pigs, about them being sacrificed.
Oh, during the time frame in the ancient Near East, during this time frame, that there were in Mesopotamia, they ate pigs, but they also used them for sacrifice because they were filters. So they would filter. They're thinking that the pigs would filter the sin. In other words, this is not what the Holy One was teaching. I'm saying that in the way that the people were living in the land during that time, they would offer sacrifices of pigs specifically because pigs were filters. Pigs, well, Charlie, you can explain it better than I can from a medical perspective, but they're basically big filters, like lobsters are filters. They filter the ocean. They filter all the poop and stuff out of the ocean. And pigs do the same thing. They filter
You
things
just
that
don't
are
want to eat things that eat dead things.
right. And
we don't eat
yeah.
things that eat dead things. We just don't do that.
Yeah. And so it
That's
was
it.
interesting to me that pigs were considered, even by those people who didn't know Yahweh, they were considered a filtering system, not in a good way, not something that you would want to eat. Okay. Who's
laughing at Amber? I just
Amber.
can't even read it out loud.
Charlie,
Amber.
I spilled my food all over the floor. I was laughing so hard at the hand gestures when you said I'm being immature. I'm sorry I brought that today. I'm so sorry.
No,
You guys,
I love it. We need the
I love
humor
you
of
so
it all
much.
because I do
Yeah.
believe that we have
Yeah.
to say there's fun in Torah. This isn't
Oh,
this is why we're here. We're here for the
yeah.
practicality of this.
Yeah.
We have to laugh. We have to be able to
Yeah.
see the laughter in this. And I hope that some of you have gotten some freedom, and even in your diets. One
Yeah.
of the things I was just sharing with my son in love, I said, hey, if we were supposed, if I went out and got the filter out of the swimming pool and brought it in and said, here you go, and I put like hollandaise sauce over it, or I threw it inside the chowder. I put the filter into the chowder, and then I put it in a bowl and said, I cut the filter into pieces and put it in everybody's bowl. You'd be like, why are you giving us a pool filter? That just filtered out all the gross stuff out of the pool.
Yeah.
That's exactly what shrimp do. That's exactly what all shellfish do. Their sole purpose is to, or
filter.
the things that eat the bottom feeders, that all of the things eat all the things at the bottom. What he's saying is, daughter, I love you so much. I don't want you to put that stuff in your body. I don't care if you've watched most of the documentaries on how our food is brought, you don't want to eat that anyways. If you see like what they're processing, most of them are eating plastic, like not even just the plastic, but the way that it's horrible. The things that half the stuff that just don't even go. And this isn't about condemnation. I just want you to say, I want to come to the table with my Savior. I want to come and eat what he would eat. And that's what I keep it simple for me personally. I say, you know what? Here's the bottom line. If he ate it, I want to eat it. If he didn't eat it, I don't want to eat it.
Right.
That's simple.
Yeah. And and what's the bottom line of this whole purpose? Let's just step back and look at the big picture of all of this right now. We've been brought into, listen guys, this is our story. This is our story here. We've been brought out to the desert. We've been redeemed. We've been taken. We've been delivered. We've been redeemed. We've been redeemed for a purpose. And the purpose is that we know him and we have a relationship with him, that this is what he wants. That's why he's brought us out here into the desert, and why he has surrounded us with his manifest presence, the shin, the fiery presence, the manifest presence of the Holy One. That's why we're right here, right now in this book. This is where we are. And he's saying, I want you to know me I want to expose myself to you in such a way. I want you to know me. I'm putting all these things into place so that we have relationship. Listen to this. This is just listen to this. Let this wash over you. It's verse 44 of Vayikra. Let's see, where is this?
Oh my gosh,
Chapter
I love
11.
you. I
For
totally have this.
I am, do you? Well,
I love you.
oh, for I am Hashem your God. You shall sanctify yourselves, and you will be holy. For I am holy, and you shall not contaminate your souls through any teeming thing that creeps on the earth. For I am Hashem who elevates you from the land of Egypt to be a God unto you. You shall be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the animal. And this is what he's saying. This is the law of the animal, the bird, every living creature that swarms in the water, and for every creature that teems on the ground, to distinguish between the contaminated and the pure. Listen with ears, listen. The contaminated and the pure, between the creature that may be eaten and the creature that may not be eaten. Don't even look at it like food. What is he saying to us? He's giving us a physical example right now. This is how you learn how to walk with him. This is how we learn how to set our wills aside and say, okay, I don't get it, but I'm going to do it because you said it. Okay, I'm going to do it. But listen to what he's saying. I want you to be holy because I'm holy. Charlie, you're going to get into this. So I'll just say it like that. And then I want you to go ahead and get into this. But he wants you to be holy because he's holy. He's saying, I'm showing you who I am. I'm calling you to come and be with me. I want you to partner with me. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to give you
Mhm.
instructions. You're going to follow them. You're not going to understand them. That's why you do, and then you do it first, and then you understand it later. Okay, so you do it first, and then you understand it. And he's saying, come and do this with me because I am your God, and I want you to understand me and have a relationship with me. This is the beauty realm, guys. This is walking into his presence. This is him saying, this is abundant life. Can you hear Messiah Yeshua talking to us right now? This is him talking to us right now. He loves us that much. He is throwing his talit over us. He's throwing his cloak over us. He is embracing us and saying, come here, I want you to know me. You think you don't know my will, you know my will. You don't know what to do in that situation. You don't know what to do in that situation. Come here, let me just show you one thing. You can do this. Do this thing, and I will reach out from the heavens and I will be right there. This is abundant life. And if we can just catch that, guys, then when we're reading things that we don't understand, we don't have to feel like we're so out of place, like it's too hard, I'm going to quit. No, it's too hard, we don't understand. That's okay. He knows that. He's going to give us the instructions step by step by step by step because he said his yoke is not too hard. That's what he promised us because he's carrying the yoke and we're partnering with him. He's carrying the load. We partner with him. We're not carrying the load. He's carrying the load. So it's not too hard. It's not. And every step that we take is freedom. I want to breathe that over you. I don't want anyone walking away from this today, even if you only got 5 minutes and you're not really understanding where we're coming from. I don't want anyone walking away thinking that oh, I'm getting back into the law, I'm being bound. That is not what this is. What this is freedom. We want to know him. We want to love him because he loves us. And that's what we're created to do. So he's saying, come here, let me show you a little piece. You can do
Mhm.
this. This is freedom. So, Charlie, talk to us a little bit about what is holy. What does that mean when he says, be holy, for I am holy?
Our whole word on that is he's not. I mean, a lot of us say, well, I can't be holy. I can't be perfect. I can't be those
Right.
things. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, I want you to be complete. I want you to be unfractured. That's why we use the shalom, shalom, the perfect peace. I
Right.
want you to not be fractured. I want you to be set apart. I want you to not, and I can't help but think, is there going to be a period in time when we're going to find out that the reason we have so much autism is there a reason that we have so many um, diseases? I mean, autoimmune diseases. The things that we have is a could it be for that? I mean, one of the things you do realize is that all I won't say all for the majority of flus and the major flus that come through every year, they all start in a pig pen. And then a bird will usually pick it up from the pig pen and carry it and then drop it into the chickens, and it'll drop it into other stuff. But it starts, research it, Google it, whatever you trust,
Mhm.
look up the white papers. That's why they'll call it the swine flu.
Right.
A lot of time it starts in a pig pen. It's where it starts. And it's just protection. It's like your
Yeah.
children when they're 3 years old and they want to run out and play in the street. And like
Right.
my Maya, we went
Right.
shopping, my birthday, we went piddling around for the day, and she would go running and go behind the cars, and I'd be yanking her and like screaming, Maya, and grab her. And she just like, and we're like, you can't do that. And it seems so like, but it was love. It was love. And it was like, I don't want you in the hospital. I don't want you to be removed from our family,
Mhm.
in heaven yet. I still want to enjoy you.
Yeah.
But what, for her, she's little. We're like, you could get hurt and you have to get a lot of shots. And she'd be like, wow, you have to get things, these, you don't want to, this will hurt you. And so you end up telling them no, because I said so, because they don't have the frontal lobe yet to understand all the reasons why. And ladies, there's just a lot of stuff we don't understand all the
Yeah.
reasons why, because that
Yeah.
part of our brain isn't opened up to us yet. We don't have an understanding. We see dimly through
Right.
the glass. We don't see
Right.
everything, but eventually we will understand. But here's what I know for sure. Every single concept that I've struggled with in Torah, clam chowder, whatever you're baking, whatever floats your boat, whatever's the thing that you're struggling with, marshmallows, there's things I'd love for you guys to post. What are the things you were shocked? What are the things you were shocked about that were actually not clean? And I'm not going to say kosher. I don't use the word kosher because kosher has a different meaning. Can we just clarify that?
Yeah.
Kosher means like a Jewish, it's a concept,
Regulatory word.
a regulatory word, meaning that it was processed a certain way, that it was like the animal was bled out a certain way, that it was blessed by a rabbi. For something to be
Mhm.
kosher, it actually needs to have gone through, like you can buy the Hebrew National hot dogs and they'll say they're kosher. It means that a rabbi blessed it, that that the hot dog is all beef. It's not just about it being clean. So let's
Right.
just say, I always say we eat biblically appropriate. I don't say we eat kosher.
Mm.
We eat biblically appropriate. We eat like Jesus eats, we eat
Mhm.
like Yeshua ate. We just eat biblically appropriate, and we don't eat kosher because we don't eat kosher because you can't have cheese, and that's one of those fences. They don't have, like, you can't have cheese and meat on the same plate, and you have to have different plates for your dairy products than your. So I just want to encourage you, using
Right.
the word
That's not
kosher,
what we're
especially if
doing.
you're around Jewish people. We all have grace for that. If you're around
Mhm.
Jewish people, they'll be like, do you know, as you're eating like a cheeseburger, they're going to be like, I don't think so. So just know that just be careful using the word kosher, because unless you are literally
Yeah.
living in a kosher home, that's quite a
Yeah.
system and a rules and regulations to abide under.
And
We
it's
are
paid
not
for. Yep.
enforcing kosher
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We
Yeah.
can't live up. We don't do that. I'm not saying,
Right.
so I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying we don't.
Sure.
So we're talking biblically clean. So everything I've struggled with, I've said, okay, Father, I'm struggling with this, because I'm reading here what your word is saying, and especially in verse 44, when you're saying, don't defile yourself by anything that I put in my mouth. Like, and it says, as a man, whatever we eat, that's what we are, right? We know that too. What goes in is what comes out. Like, usually somehow it's whatever we eat. And I don't want to be the dirt filter eating dead things.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
What about learning, taking things step by step and learning how to walk in his ways? I mean, if we learn how to do one thing, then we're stronger, we're better for it, right? If we learn how to do one thing, like he's talking to the whole New Testament, he's talking to us. It's all the commentary of the Torah. He's explaining to us how to walk these things out. The Beatitudes, that whole Matthew, the whole thing, it's all he's explaining to us how to walk these things out. If we're going to be running a race, we have to do the work behind the race. And I don't, and I'm not talking about legalism. I'm talking about how committed are you to abundant life? If you want to live an abundant life, then you're going to find the things that he's telling us are going to bring abundant life to us. And those are the things that we walk out. Are we going to do it perfectly? No. Are we going to go to hell if we don't? No.
No.
It's
Well,
it's
it
an
says, and it said you're cut off from your people until the next day. Like you're cut off. Like you couldn't like you can't like be in. You can't be. You're not cut off from him. He
no.
says you're cut off from your. You're cut off from your people. You're just you're considered unclean. So I guess you are. You can't come in. You are cut off. You can't come into the. You can't come into the outer courts. You can't come into the tabernacle.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're dead. It doesn't mean you're not part of the family, but you're not
Right.
allowed to come into his. So when I thought about that, I did ask this morning, Father, this doesn't make sense to me. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. If there's something that doesn't, just ask him. Convict you if this is wrong. Don't show me what I'm doing that's not right. He will show you. What parent is, if their kid says, "Hey, mom, if I'm doing something that's wrong, would you let me? Is this wrong?" You're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's wrong." I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna say,
Right.
"I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna let you keep doing it." That's not
Yeah.
what you're gonna do. That's not who our
No.
God is. But I
Right.
ask him, "Why, God? Why are we then cut off from being a? Why does it say that we're not clean? And which meaning we are then can't come have dinner with him in the courts? Why am I unclean until the next day?" And it was like the nurse in me instantly hit, oh, because it has to process through our body to get to the place, and how
Yeah.
through our digestion and get out of the stomach, get out. It has to go through the digestion, and hopefully you've eliminated it by then. It's out of your system. Your body has processed all the toxins. Your liver has processed by that time. At least you may not have eliminated it. We're talking all kinds of body codes today.
Yeah.
You may not have eliminated, no poo poo, but there may be evidence, but it is not, your liver has already processed and filtered out the toxins out of it and everything. And it just takes a while for that. And then it has pushed it through everything that was not good for you.
Right.
But
But
I
like when
love
you're
that.
training your 3-year-old, you're not going to tell your 3-year-old, the reason that I don't want you to go into the street behind a car is because if a car is driving at 50 miles an hour, it is
Yeah.
going to take this many seconds for it
At the
to,
velocity of the,
yes.
yeah.
That's not what you're going to say. You're going to say, no, don't do it. And then as they grow older and mature, they're going to find out, well, good thing I didn't do it, because this is what the repercussion would be if I did. I think that's kind of like with the word. Sometimes we just have to do the things that we don't understand and let
Yes.
him explain it to us as we mature enough that we can handle it. And
Yes. And you're going to see things that you're going to all of a sudden,
Love it.
it'll be little by little. It could be years when you all of a sudden are popping your vitamins or giving your kids their gummies to eat, and you realize, oh, or you're eating little Sour Patch Kids or anything that has gelatin in it. And you're like, I mean, let me just say, Sour Patch Kids are one of my favorite things. And then you realize, oh, you have to look. I think that one doesn't have gelatin. I can't remember, but it can't have gelatin in it. Gelatin is made out of horse hooves. So you can get bovine gelatin that's made out of beef, or you can have, I think there's a fish one, but you have to see what kind of fish, right? I mean, it's little by little, he'll show you, like, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know marshmallows. Can I just tell you guys, it was been maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Bill and Rosemary Bullock came to our home. John Michael and his wife, they had just gotten married, and they all came and stayed with me for a week in Colorado. And I'm going to be so cute and pull out this whole thing to do s'mores. And so I have this big bag of marshmallows, the big marshmallows and everything else. And John Michael sweetly says, do you have the Jiffy marshmallow spread? I'm like, and I did, because it was like I had used that to make fudge or whatever. And I said, yeah, I do have that. He goes, oh, I would rather have that. I said, oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense, because you don't have to squish it, but then you don't get the fun. He goes, right. But then it doesn't, that one is actually, that's actually kosher and those are not. And that was the word he used. But he was like, I just prefer, that's not, I think he said that's
so
not biblically
sweet.
clean. He said biblically clean.
Yeah.
That's not biblically clean, but the Jiffy spread is. So I'm not gonna, I don't want to miss out on the flavor, but I'm gonna miss out. I don't want to eat the gelatin. And so he's like, if you don't mind. And I was like, I mortified, feeding Bill Bullock marshmallows. That would be, for those of you who don't know, and you may know Halisa, it would be the male version of Halisa, like for me in my life, would be like, here you go, have a shrimp cocktail, sister. And you'll hear like Deb Gold, like she was so funny, like her first Shabbat, she was so excited. She made like shrimp scampi. You guys, it is literally, this is all full of grace, all full of
Yeah.
grace, all full of grace.
And the more, and the thing is, discipline teaches us how to be better at whatever our goal is. If you're going to be a racer, a runner, a weightlifter, my youngest son is a competitive power lifter. He does all of the things that allow him to be competitive in this sport. He does not do the things that do not allow him to be competitive in this sport. He's learned discipline. That's all this is. He's teaching us discipline. And it's not a
Yes.
bad thing, guys. It's not judgment. It is not. It's not legalism. It is not imprisoning us, guys. This is freedom. He's
It
saying,
isn't. You
"This
get
is
to
what I
you get to
think.
take him to the
Think
grocery
what I
store to
think."
when you're looking at the
Yeah,
labels. It's part of your worship. It's part
yeah,
of your worship. And I'm going to leave.
yeah.
I'm Chris Kavanaugh Castro. She said, which she's written some great books. She just blessed me with a couple of those, which I'm going to be reading. I'm excited. She said
Oh,
this was a great perspective from Rabbi Jason Sobel about kosher laws. Now I'm going to read this, and this is our closing. Ready? Based on these insights, the kosher dietary laws were given to the children of Israel to offer them an opportunity to trust and obey,
oh,
thereby
good.
correcting the mistake humankind initially made in the garden.
Yep.
Thus, every time a Jewish person chooses to abstain from what God has declared unfit to eat, they demonstrate that they've learned from the error of Eden and acknowledge Lord as King over every aspect of their life. Think about it.
Amen.
When you're
That's
sitting at the
beautiful.
table, you have Korban Olah, you're giving up your will, my will to eat whatever I want because I'm the boss of that. You're saying, I'm giving this all up, and you now
Hmm.
can bless your meal, bless your food, and you're walking. I hope that was a blessing.
I hope
Whew.
so too.
Father,
Thank
seal
you,
us,
Abba.
bless us. I thank you, Father, that I know this has brought freedom and not it's brought life. It's brought life to women. It's brought life to families that maybe have struggled in this area. I pray that you would release your anointing and your blessing and your wisdom. I pray that you would bring wisdom in the areas and understanding in this area so that it's a personal conviction and understanding and an act of love and olah to you, Father. That korban olah, that there we get to give up what we think we can do and not do, Father, that we're just giving. We thank you. We thank you that you care so much about us, that you even care about what we put in our bodies and what's best and not best so that we can be all you've created us to be. Father, I ask that you
Yes.
bless every woman here today. Father, as you surround their homes, that you fill them full of shalom, shalom.
Yes.
You fill it now, Father, where there's strife, where there's
Thank you, Father.
sickness, where there's discord, where there's fractures. I thank you, Father, that now, tonight, today, right now, you are pouring in your spirit, that your shalom is fixing, repairing, bridging gaps, bringing redemption, bringing restoration. Thank you, Father, as we go into your Shabbat,
Yes.
that
Yes.
we can rest and know who we are in
Yes.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for declaring and protecting us and surrounding us with your love and mercy. Amen.
Oh man,
Hey,
beautiful.
love you all. Love you all over in Facebook, everyone watching the replay. And we're going to hang up. And if you are in Facebook, you can still jump over to be in the after party. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about what crazy foods we all didn't know was not biblically clean. Love you all.
All the mistakes we've made.